Good evening, folks. We're about to begin our event that is the shamanic astrology and uh, sound medicine. And we're live streaming this from from Frank's studio. And I see that I'm having some difficulty once again. It looks like we've only got one viewer so far. Um, and I did post the link to go to Twitch, which is a much better vehicle for this. We're going to keep this up as long as it works for those who can't go there, but you should be able to see that the link is... All right. Frank is indicating that we're good to go. All right. So, this is a public event, and not just to this private group, for those of who know me. But because of that, I will just introduce myself. All right, so Facebook is really unstable, and the Twitch is running, it's up and running, and I want to really encourage the handful of viewers I've got here to go to Twitch, because it's going to keep cutting out like it did yesterday, and I have no control over that. And you're going to get a lot better quality and much more stable as well. So I hope that folks will migrate over to that, and I'm going to have to kind of ignore it every time it blinks out here. So sorry about that. It's the nature of the beast, as they say. Anyhow, so because as I was saying, because this is public and not just to my private group, I want to introduce myself, Jeffrey Mark Gretner. I am an astrologer, a healer, and a traditionally trained spiritual advisor or traditionally initiated shaman. And I've been working in the native way for over 35 years. I was adopted by a medicine man, and trained in those ways, and I've been through the 8 years of preparation of Amblecha and Wachipi, that's Sundance and Vision Quest, in reverse order there, before I started doing public ceremonies as a pipe carrier. But I've also trained as and I mentioned some of the other things that I do, working with the earth and as a healer, but the things that are relevant tonight is as an astrologer. And doing that for well over 30 years as well. And combining the idea of doing ceremonies so that we can engage in the best ways possible with the energies that are going on, so that we call it shamanic astrology because we're going into depth with it, and we're also bringing in this idea of connecting our own spirit with the spirit of the earth and the energies that are being shown to us through the skies, which we are all one with, we are all part of. And so thereby kind of enhancing and, not just the idea of putting our intentions out, but enhancing the possibilities with it. And at times when it is really significant, like the huge conjunctions in 93, 94, we did ceremonies at sacred sites to really plant seeds for the possibilities of what the future may hold. That's a very long cycle, and with a lot of significance. So it's that basic idea that is why I'm offering this as shamanic astrology, and I'll talk a little bit about how these energies are unfolding, and I'll try to keep the astrologies to a minimum, although there's likely to be some astrologers, and you might be wondering where I'm pulling it from, so I might mention some of those. But the idea is to talk about some of the energy in a sort of on one level a practical way, and then a more mystical way as well. So one of the things that I had told my group, because we're in these really intense times, and in the private group, so if you're viewing me or connecting through the St. Croix Valley Sweat Lodge page, then you know that I had made a commitment to be in ceremony and working with the energy by putting the sacred pipe together every night at 8 o'clock. And so this event tonight, we hope that, well, not we hope, we will be in a short while after I'm done talking, we will be able to experience the magic that Frank Dicristina does with his sound work, so that we can really go into depth with the energy that's going on, and experience the journey that he'll take us on. So, but that promise that I would be doing that as a meditation, and there was a prayer connected with that. And although for tonight's event, there's none of this is going to be on screen, but there is, the sacred pipe is put together. I'm considering this ceremony, even though I'm speaking to you, because I'm asking for the guidance of the Creator, and for those whom I can't even see you, I just talking through this box and through the technical magic of the internet. But the idea is that there's the magic of the earth and the global heart. And so that my hope and my intent is that some of the words and ideas that I offer to you will help spark things within you and help you to access the ability to radiate some positive energy into our world. So, and there was a formula that went along with that prayer, and I just want to mention that here in the beginning before I dive into the astrology. But it was the idea that we can choose hope. It's easy to get lost and bogged down into all of the difficulties and the chaos that's going on right now, and the potential fear that we may be experiencing the confusion, those kinds of things. But we have the capacity as human beings to choose hope. So we start with the idea of choosing hope. And one of the ways that is related to that we can use our own physiology, is to find a place within ourselves, centered in our heart, and experiencing the feeling of gratitude. When you go from gratitude of what you know, it's much easier to access hope. It's also much easier when others in your group can be feeling hope and feeling gratitude. Again, that's accessing that global heart. And then, so to go from hope and to pray for the light of truth, the truth that the truth that we as humans can aspire to. So we pray for the light of truth to be a blessing on all people. And then is the idea that in these times when there are so many things going on and challenges, what we witnessed at the United States Capitol here a couple weeks ago, a little less, that it is indeed perilous times, and that we need our protectors. So we need to pray for them. And that's just one aspect, because we're also in this pandemic, and so some of those protectors are the people who are in the hospitals or the EMTs. And then we need to praying for our decision makers, that they are truly looking out to the future and to the present, and that they are listening to us, and they are listening to their conscience, and that they are, we hope, actually getting guidance, that they are able to make the best decisions to move forward. And when those decisions, as they inevitably will be, they get off the mark, that they can make another decision and keep correcting. So hope, truth, the protectors, the decision makers. And then bring understanding amongst peoples and pray for that. And through that, peaceful resolution of conflict. And even within the tiny circles that we're in, whenever we can resolve conflict, we're reducing the tension, and we're reducing that kind of energy and vibration that is out in the field. And we ourselves feel calmer and more centered. And then we return to hope, that we remember that what we do right now, and this is part of what's written in the skies, it's kind of always true, but these are very significant beginning points, endings and beginnings. We return to hope and looking towards the new generations and those that are coming on, and all the future generations. So once again, that we can tap into greater wisdom, and also to have courage to take action towards what we believe in. So having said that, I'm first going to ask us to find a centered, more deepened, and expansive and connected space. So I'll take just a couple of minutes. I'm going to do this with my eyes closed and talk us through from wherever you are, to just allow a grounding cord to descend down from the base of your spine, through the chair or the floor, wherever it is that you may be, and allow it to go down through the building, if that's where you happen to be, or if you're fortunate enough to be outside, let it go down into the ground, and into the top layers of Mother Earth. And let that grounding cord, just see it go all the way down through the loose layers of the surface of the earth until it reaches bedrock. And to go right past, right through the bedrock and through the crust of the earth. And then down through the first molten layer of the earth into the mantle with all its myriad of crystallized minerals and shifts and changes and continuities. Let it descend quickly now down to the second molten layer. And finally into the core of the earth. So that your body energy now is hooked in to the core of the earth. And say hello to Mother Earth. And ask her to receive your hello. And then just ask that this wonderful, nurturing, supportive energy of the earth, from whatever level, on whatever vibration is exactly right for you tonight, that it will come up, to rise up, and especially to bring it into the chakras and the bottoms of your feet. So just have the sense of your feet, soles of your feet, and let them open to receive this earth energy. And allow it to rise up to your ankles and into your calves and to the knees, the back of the knees chakra, through the thighs, and into your first chakra. And let the wisdom of the earth chakra, the first chakra, distribute it throughout the rest of your body to wherever it is needed for healing and support, and throughout your entire auric system. And so you now know that you are one with the earth. Then open your head crown center, sufficient for the evening or the time that you are listening to this. And call down more of your own soul light, more of your own energy, down through the head crown and into the third eye, the sixth chakra, and allow that to open and to expand again, sufficient for your needs tonight. And allow your light to come down to fill your throat chakra. Open your ability to receive information and all of the other functions. And then allow it, call it all the way down into the home for the soul in your heart. Just feel your light radiating from the heart. And the wisdom of the heart to distribute as you brought more of your own soul energy into your being and let it to distribute throughout the rest of your being. And you can send all energies that do not need to be with you on this evening. And during the sacred time we'll spend together. Just gently send them away. Now recall any other energies that you may have left that need to be present with you in this moment. Take some deep breaths. Remember to breathe throughout. And if you wish, you can chant an Om. Om. And so now that we are grounded, we are present and we are centered, and with the Om we have opened ourselves to the cosmic energies. And again, I want to welcome you all here and thank you all for being here. So I want to shift now to something that's more informational and just talk about what's going on in the heavens with our planets around us, and see if we can glean some insights and something useful. And I'll just start with the idea that we are in that it's a fairly intense time. There's actually a lot of things going on, in case you haven't felt that. And in case you haven't noticed that there's a kind of a scattering effect, and there's this idea that time may be, having a party. It isn't normal time anymore, right? I don't know about you, but I'm experiencing that, and I know lots of people around me are. And if you're not, then good for you. Bless you. I'm glad that things are rolling well for you, for everybody who is rolling well. Anyhow, that being said, to try to narrow it down to a few things and to put it in simple language can be a bit of a challenge. And the first thing I want to do is to back up, because this is also one of the things that we listed this as Frank and I should have had the same title, but there was some challenges on my part getting everything coordinated, and so it's my fault. But at any rate, that's just the other idea that there's a lot going on. And so, one of the things that I spoke to him about is that we are in this time when we're really kind of making one of the quantum leaps into the Aquarian Age. And it's a long process, actually. We've been moving in that direction since the 1960s, the early 60s. But this one is a significant one in as much as that the generational cycle that is Saturn and Jupiter has happened at the very beginning of Aquarius. And that marks a dramatic shift from previous 20-year cycles that have been in Earth signs and have signified different things. And so, as we know, if you've been following along, that happened on the solstice. I personally wasn't able to do a ceremony that I shared with people in person. I did something very intense on my own and connected to other groups. However, Frank did something wonderful that night, and I listened into that as I was doing a day-long ceremony. And that was the convergence of several things that brought that together. So astrologers were saying, and it was quickly picked up on, the beginning of the Aquarian Age. Well, let's just say we amped it up a bit. Because these ages, these astrological ages, are long periods of time, and they take time to bring them into being, to birth them, so to speak. And that shift in energy has to do with the archetypes that those planets are connected to. And those range from something that we can grasp kind of in the mundane world, what Jupiter and Saturn have to do, all the way down into depth psychology and what it might mean for each of us personally. And those are the energies that are going on all around us, and there are going to be specific ways that it impacts us according to our charts, and you can only do that by looking at your own chart or having an astrologer read it for you. But it's the energies that going on around us, that these two big social planets are involved with. And one of the things that we can attach it to, and I would note that some of these things are going to be oversimplifications because you can get very complicated and in-depth. So the idea is to give us a few little points so that from that a hologram can appear, some fractal points. But the idea that there is, with Jupiter and Saturn, is expansion and optimism. That's one of the general things. And looking at the big picture. And it has to do with philosophy. And it has to do with seeking truth or bringing things into conceptual form. And in the mundane world, meaning of this earth, that is often expressed through legislation, the making of laws. And the making of laws with one of the ideals, that is not always connected to laws, but one of the ideals is that there be justice. So growth opportunities, there's justice, there's bringing together concepts into philosophies that help govern how we live. And that's done at an institutional level through our legislature. But we do that for ourselves, within ourselves, by what is the truth that we are seeking and what are the growth opportunities that will help us to live that truth. So that's a couple of key things from out here, because the laws that are created are what we are governed by, and some of the parameters by which we have to live. But it's also, how are we governing ourselves? You know, what principles are we going to hold on to, and what are we going to live with? And what opportunities does that open to us? So Saturn is about making things real. It's about bringing it into this world, into the concrete, commonly experienced world. And that's a general principle, but it also goes, it in that mundane aspect, it's how those laws are administered and who has the authority to do that. So it's most connected to an executive function. But it has to do with creating a structure in order to bring things in to this shared reality. And Saturn often gets a bad rap because in the personal chart, it may have to do with how you're limited or what karma that you're dealing with. And it's kind of a whole other discussion, but one of the pieces that I want to offer to you is the idea that the Saturn process has to do with forming your life in order to hold your light, and forming your light in order to be in this life. Let me repeat that. So it's forming your life to hold your light. So the unique and expansive and eternal being of light that you are has to have a pathway to come into this human form, to have this human experience. And so you need to form and shape the personality and the being and in order to be in this 3D, 4D reality, to share it with other human beings and with all life on this planet. And the other might be sound a little different, but it's kind of like, well, you have to form your light to be in this life. So an aspect of that is that maybe your being is so unique that it can't yet exist in the structured form bodies or form reality that is here on the planet. So there's a way in which you have to shape your light in order to do that. And I'm going to give you a really an example in the concrete world of something that does that in kind of an amazing way. Where I'm speaking to you through these boxes. One of them is my little phone. We all have this phone, this 4x7 phone or whatever the heck the dimensions are. And in it is a mineral that has been purified, and then very meticulously there is slight trace elements that are placed in a very precise matrix, so that it's no longer just silica. That, these invisible waveforms that are around us, they arrive, and if you have a quartz crystal, we believe that transmits energy, but you can't make it form the picture or transmit the sound. Yet we can take that very same mineral, and through something akin to a Saturn process, is that in other words, technology, we're taking that crystalline form with its geometry, with the way it vibrates, and we're putting it all together in a very precise pattern, so that these invisible waveforms that are coming in around here reaches that device, and then by some technical magical thing, it modulates and translates and moves those waveforms around. It processes it. It's a microprocessor, and then it sends it to a microphone or a speaker, so that you can hear what I'm saying, you can receive what I'm saying, and then a visual. And so that's kind of a miracle in a sense, but it's a Saturn process. It's being able to take a physical form that allows your energy to come into being here. And so one of the things about Saturn is that if what it is you're trying to bring in can't yet be contained here, you have to keep pushing the boundaries, and you have to keep forming it until you get it to work. So some of the frustration that we experience when we feel limited is that it's not meant to be now, or you have to discern and choose, no, it is to be, and therefore I have to keep working the process until I can be here in the way that I want to be. So to bring it back to a simpler idea again, and how can you work with that notion? Then in Aquarius, which is looking towards the future, which is looking towards the equality of all beings, of all humans for sure, and that includes social justice, it includes caring for the earth, it includes innovating and looking towards youth, etc. And in a way that knowledge becomes primary as well. Those are aspects of the Aquarian Age. So individually, you may look at, well, what is it that I want to grow into? So these are questions that you can access and tap into right now. What's the growth opportunity for me at this time? And because it's combined with Saturn, it's saying, what is the hard work and discipline I will do to bring that into being, so that it exists here in our common reality, and that it is supporting the growth of your soul. It is developing the growth of your soul. And when we look at that on the macro scale, the mundane, if you will, and we're looking at there's going to be a new government taking over here in the United States, because I know that there are people from other parts of the world. And it'll apply to you as well in different ways, but I need to use these examples. Most of us are here in the States. So there's what we hope they're going to be doing is to be bringing in innovation in order to govern more from the standpoint of equality, care for the earth, and the eye towards the future. And that we have to structure it to make that real. So that's a backdrop, and I took a while to explain that, but that's sort of one of the big things that has happened very recently, and it's still happening, because even if you missed the opportunity to plant a seed on the solstice when this was going down, that energetic influence is still going on. Now, Jupiter is moving along fairly quickly, but we're still kind of in the conception stage. So if you haven't thought about what are my growth opportunities and how do I make it real, you still have time to do that. That's the background. But along with that, and we're talking about the shifting of an age here, there are the constructs of a previous age that are having to go through a death process. So all this last year, there were a lot of things revealed of places in our institutions and the way we put our life together that are rotten or being broken down, or where there's people who have too much power. All that was revealed. The pandemic has shown us all of these different kinds of things that are huge difficulties. And by the way, I'm going to digress for a second, because that opening prayer, the piece that I missed, is the prayer for all of those who are suffering from illness, from loss of a loved one, suffering from addiction. I'm going to throw that one in there. Suffering from dislocation, suffering from mental and emotional distress, from hunger, from poverty. All of those things that are kind of ills of the society and of individuals at this time. And again, one of the big antidotes is community and the shared love and compassion for each other. I'm mentioning that right now because I was mentioning that, we've been in this process of things breaking down, and literally from one standpoint, they're being kind of a hell realm revealed. But it's being revealed so that we can transform it, so that we can take the pieces that are to endure and to empower more people and to create something new. And now we've got this next one where it's Jupiter-Saturn. It's like, okay, bring it into this reality and how we're going to govern ourselves as individuals and how we're going to govern in... And remember, there's more to these things than what I'm just mentioning, but I'm hoping to give you a flavor of what's happening. Now, to bring us up more immediate, there were a number of things that happened from an astrological perspective on January 6th. And I don't want to take the time to go through every little one of those, but I do want to speak to a significant one that many had overlooked. Many astrologers. If you're not an astrologer, then you're hearing a lot of these things, kind of on a new basis. So just trust me that there were triggers and there were things that brought that to a head. But there's this underlying thing. For any astrologers who are listening, I'm going to refer to it as, Neptune squared the nodes, the lunar nodes, which have to do with the directions. Again, it's a generational movement, and the nodes, these sensitive points, they're basically referring to the idea of all these ideas and information and communication that are coming flooding in. It's coming in one side of an axis. And on the other side of an axis is concepts and philosophy and seeking the truth. So in one end is information, the other end is truth and philosophy. And again, this is related to Jupiter about what principles are we going to be guiding ourselves with. Neptune, at its highest vibration, is visions of possibilities, our imagination, creations of amazing and wondrous things. They're ecstatic states or just altered states. Um, but it is also delusion and addiction and illusion because it is not connected to our common reality. It's just the ocean from which we can pick things. But it is way beyond the construct of a personality. And a lot of times, Neptunian energies can draw us in and drown us. If we're seeking some state to escape the reality because it seems too harsh, then we might choose drugs, one avenue, but an equal avenue in some respects is to go so far into your own space or into what you believe to be the spiritual realm as to leave behind. There's a reason that we're having these human experiences. And so escapism is part of it. But confusion and things not being real. Well, right now that Neptune energy is in its domicile, and it is squaring the nodes, so it can create a lot of confusion and a lot of things that are simply not true in our shared reality. And I suppose kind of a metaphor is like, I don't know if you ever had this experience, but when you were a kid and got together with your pals and on a foggy night decided to go into the cemetery and smoke a little weed, and, then the fog starts to take on all kinds of shapes and forms. And in that altered state, you can imagine anything. And that's kind of the way it's been. We have been thrust into an era where there is so much information that is kind of beyond our human capacity to actually contain it and make it make sense to us. I'm not saying that this is true of everybody, but because there's such a wide variety, we can choose which one we want to live in, and sometimes lose touch with the one that we have to commonly live in. But it's that energy, and that's going to be going on for a while. So how we choose what is true and what is of the highest spiritual vibration, and to simplify that, I had thought about a whole process that I thought, well, maybe I could share this just as a way that I've learned or approached this and give some insights, some ideas. But I thought, no, I certainly wouldn't do it tonight, but it's kind of I'm sure everybody believes that they can smell BS when they're encountering it. But clearly there's again, I want to just, not everybody's had an experience with an addiction, but the way that the brain is set up, you're seeking an experience, and that if you feed it once and that feels pretty good, then you feed it again, and then pretty soon you're encountering a situation where you're stressed or whatever. So, I'll just take a bump, then I can deal with that better, And then pretty soon that takes over, and it's a part of how the brain is built, and we as humans are built that way. So if we're trying to constantly reinforce the reality we've created for ourselves so we have an identity, it's easy to get sucked into things, and we start to lose touch with what is the common reality. How do we function and work together? It doesn't obviously imagination and all of those things are wonderful and they're great. But we have to be able to function together, and we have to have some truth and that we can agree on. And I think, again, there's a lot more that could be said about it, but one of the common truths is that we all humans, virtually all humans, want to do good. They want a good and happy life. They want their families and their friends they want to give and receive love amongst each other, to be able to prosper, and there's the propensity to help one another and to cooperate. And so those are common truths, I believe. And that when we break away from that, when we start going into us and them, and demeaning others and making ourselves superior, therefore justifying actions, then we're going against that common truth. So I could say more about that, but it's something to be aware of, is that right now Neptune is trying to confuse the hell out of you, out of all of us in general. So we need each other to help, come to terms with what's the common reality, and then where do we want to go with this? Now that brings me to, on this very night, as some of these energies are going to be unfolding here fairly rapidly, and so I started with the idea that, okay, we're entering an Aquarian Age, and we don't even know totally what all that is yet, but we are feeling kind of compelled that we want to create something new that is more, I'm speaking to people, I don't know if you're all going to agree with me, but I suspect you will, that we want a healthy, vibrant planet, that we want social justice, that we're all equal and should have the equal opportunity, and so on. Well, we have to be able to transition from an old paradigm, from an old way of doing things that didn't allow all of that, especially for people of color and women and so on, that, the constructs that existed didn't support all of us equally. And that's one of the things that we have to work hard to bring into being. Nor have we treated the earth in a good way. And that's so vital. It's the source of life itself. So just a couple of things that, now how are we going to construct it and how are we going to create it? And what are we going to do? Tonight, there was a planetary energy where there was a dynamic tension between Jupiter, which is expansion and growth, and opportunities, and just also feeling optimism, and the planet Uranus, which has to do with the idea of the will to freedom, and of kind of wanting to. There's an element of being a little bit beyond time. It's connected to technology. Okay, that's a series of things within us. It's about the will to freedom, to be able to be uniquely who we are. And because those are in tension, there may be a desire to just expand way beyond, to try to go for that freedom. There's the energy was very high, and some of us experienced some technical difficulties because the energy was too high to be contained. It's too rapid of expansion. And so again, but what it does, the positive of this is the opportunities. And when we get into this meditation, I'm not able to really track time very well here, folks. So I want to close this out soon and let Frank run with it. But this is a great time, this day in particular, to be able to go into meditation, to open yourself to the universe and to your higher self. And what kinds of growth opportunities can you call forth that helps you to become more uniquely who you are, to bring more of your energy, your unique eternal energy, your higher self into expression. And when you receive those, you're going to have to winnow them down, because it's likely that there may be too many, and it might be too explosive of an energy. Now, Saturn is still with that energy, so Saturn, which says, okay, you have to limit it, you have to look at where does it actually fit in the world. Maybe you've got to back up a little bit, start over, lay a foundation. And those are also important things. So the next thing I want to move to is the idea that we are required to take action right now. And throughout these cycles, Mars has been initiated. Mars, which is about what I just said, it's about using our energy, taking action, thrusting ourselves into the world. Obviously, Mars is associated with other things, but I want to speak to it just in that sense at the moment. And Mars has just moved into the season of Taurus, sign of Taurus, and is getting very close to be conjoined with Uranus. The Uranian energy can be very rebellious. It can jump ahead of the timeline. It's like the lightning bolt coming in. You see the lightning before you hear the thunder. But within us as individuals, it's connected to that part of ourselves that lives and exists beyond time. So if you're not, it's this will to freedom. And Mars is, I want to take action, can bring it into this life. But because it's a rebellious energy, and because Mars is quite capable of getting angry when it doesn't get its way and being forceful, sometimes when you combine those two, it's explosive. Sometimes quite literally. And again, in our mundane world, it can be a military action of rebellion, which is kind of what we saw here on the 6th. Well, that's going to be exact in just 3 days. It just so happens that the energy pattern for the inauguration of our new administration here has a lot of intensity. That means a couple of things, not just for that day, but that means that as this administration takes over, the pattern that is extant at that time is what they're going to be working with all along. And there's this tremendous tension between the public wanting action for more freedom and justice. I'm choosing to word it that way as opposed to rebellion. The public is wanting action for freedom and justice and to move into the future. And that is in dynamic tension with those that are legislating, creating the laws, and those that are administering the laws and exercising authority. So that's what we got. There's nothing smooth going on here. And then there's this other thing that I was just talking about, which is this confusion. So, if you will, whether you like who's coming in or not, they're the people who are creating the first administration of this next quantum leap into the Aquarian Age. Where's our responsibility in there? Because that's the next energy that's going to... Well, first of all, I'll finish that. What action would you like to take to create more freedom of expression for yourself that can also be in alignment with your principles and that you can bring into the common reality and be responsible for? Let me repeat that. What actions can you take in your life in order to bring more of your own light, your own higher self energy into reality that is consistent with your philosophy and that you can bring into this reality, build on, and be responsible for? And that's what we're also requiring of our government. So those are the pieces. And then within a month, and again, it's already kind of happening. It just becomes exact at these times, and this is the last one I'll speak to is happening all year. And that is that there's going to be this dynamic tension about wanting to break free of all the things that have been holding us back. And this is for individuals. To break free of all the things that were holding us back and our responsibility. Our responsibility to ourselves, to each other around us, and to our society, really. Those are in tension. And as long as one is pulling harder than the other, we've got problems. We've got difficulty. So we have to find the way to do both. You have to be able to work with what is existing, what is the current reality, and how can we create more freedom and justice, etc. And again, within the person is how do you create more freedom of your own higher self's expression through the life, bring it into this reality, and be responsible for the life that you have. So, I don't know. I hope this was helpful. As I said, it was kind of a big swamp, and I tried to boil it down into some pieces. Unfortunately, we can't interact, so I can't really answer questions. Maybe there can be another opportunity for that. But I hope this gives you a little bit of food for thought and gives you a little bit of understanding of the kinds of energies that we're in. And gives you the idea of why it's so important for us right now as individuals to be taking actions in the ways that I've described in order to birth this coming age. Not just for ourselves, but for all future generations. And so we kind of see that around us. Lots of people who are really aware of what isn't working in their life and that they're ready to make a leap. So it's the time to do that. We just need to do it with the eye on what can be made real, and as long as we don't abnegate our responsibilities. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for listening, and I'm going to turn this over. And again, this is still all part of this prayer. When it's all over with and we've signed off, I'm going to complete my prayer for those of you who are following along with this, the way of being. Those are connected to my private Sweat Lodge page. Anybody really, but okay. So, Frank, take it away, my friend.
We're going to do a 5-minute interlude.
All right.
So you tell the people.
5-minute interlude, folks.
And then I'm going, because I have to rearrange a couple of things.
Okay.
And then we'll be right here. So if you're still on Twitch, stay. I don't know if you can. I don't think you can pause your phone.
I can actually pause that. I can pause it, or maybe I'll just turn it to your gongs, and people will have to put up with the machinations that are going on.
There
that
you
might
go.
be better.
Yeah, because I just have to move some camera. You can move the
Okay.
camera.
Okay.
Hang in there.
So hang in there, folks, and we're get ready for some awesome sound meditation. All right. So what we'll do is shift this.
Testing. All right. Hello, everybody. Well, that was rather interesting. Yeah, that's fine, right there.
Is that good? Okay.
Yeah,
Shift
just
it
a hair
right
over, yeah.
there. There you go.
It'll get most of me in.
Okay.
Anyway, hello there. What he said. That's why I have astrologer friends, because I sure as heck can't. You know, probably if I looked into it when I was younger, I could get into the astrology. You know, get into the more understanding of it. But I chose sound, and vibration, energy with the metal. And metal is very grounding. Yes, crystal bowls can be grounding also, but metal is very, very grounding. So that's one of the things we really need at this time also, is we need some good grounding. So if you're still with us, and I'm pretty sure there are, I can't see the screens. I mean, there's a little phone obviously pointing towards me, but I can't read it. It's too small, and my computer's over there. So if you want to make comments, please do, because we'll read them later, and then we can respond to them. It's just we can't respond real time because we're kind of busy, you know, doing all this other stuff. So, if you're comfortable, or get yourself comfortable, You did a little meditation earlier. So maybe you want to revisit that, you know, realize you're still connected to the earth, you're still grounded. So maybe just take a deep breath in through your nostrils. Pause. Hold in your breath. And release slowly out through your mouth. Take another breath in. Again. And release. You're allowed to vocalize as you exhale, because that actually helps to start creating the vibration in your body. It also helps to extract more air, more stagnant energy out of the body. And one more time, breathing in through the nostrils. And Alrighty. So relax, sit back, close your eyes if you wish, put your feet up, snuggle up. You can lay, sit, whatever, lay on the floor. Do yoga. You can go into deeper meditation if you like, but I will be playing. Maybe not quite an hour, but it'll be a little while here. I can't see my clock. But well, people, you know, this has all been intuitive anyway, so thank you. Thank you for joining us. Rosie is still with me. And if I lost you, that's okay too. I want you to, you're probably pretty comfortable if you're still with us. So, I want you to just take a deep breath, slow and gentle. Through the nose, pausing, releasing out through the mouth. When you can, take another deep breath in. And release. Now, we'll assume that you're wherever you need to be or wherever you're going to be for the evening or the rest of the evening. And if you're not, well, please take care as to where if you have to drive. Because we don't want to lose anybody along the way. So if you're elsewhere and you need to get in your car to head back to wherever, please take your time, drink some water, open the windows, get some fresh air. If you find yourself drifting off, please pull over. Don't try to continue. If you're home, awesome. You should have awesome dreams tonight. And if you do, please put it in the comments. Let's hear about it. And if you feel you don't want to share it to everybody, you could PM us. Let us know how it goes. Excuse me. That's just energy moving on me too. Thank you for sticking with us. I think we're just about at the 2-hour mark, which, we don't normally do 2-hour events, but unless we're live, and then we can get really long and lengthy. And live, I mean in person with bodies like the old days. We will hopefully be doing that soon. Please stay safe. Be kind. And thank you.
Oops. Thank all of you who are still with us in the Facebook Live. Really appreciate you hanging with us. And just gratitude. And I kind of did my best with the astrology that is quite complicated right now, and having my own energy being a little bit scrambled today. But I hope you can make sense of it. There are certainly more points or links that I would have liked to have made, but I hope I covered some bases that have opened your awareness. So, as Frank said, have great dreams. Think big. And like Rumi said, in a few days, know the big foolish project you want to take on and take action. But always remain grounded and aware of your responsibilities. Aho. See you all. Bye. Good evening, folks. We're about to begin